And my job is to keep you awake for the next, 40 minutes or so. Thank you for inviting me. It's always fun to come out here and see Southern California. I usually visit the Bay Area. It's nice to get down here once in a while. I can see this needs a little adjustment. There we go. I have quite a number of slides to go through here. If you're keeping track, your progress bar is down here, about 106 slides. I do not subscribe to the 4 minutes per slide rule, and you'll see that very quickly. So you can decide how much of the slides you want to read. These will be available. There's already a copy available here, and I'll have one on my webpage. If you can't find it, you shouldn't be in this business in the first place. Or I forgot to put them up, one or the other. You can decide which it is. Okay. I started thinking about this talk about 2 years ago. A magazine whose name I don't remember decided that I was 98 on the list of the top 100 IT people in the world. Ben Bernanke was number 100. And I said, well, okay, I'm on a list. How can I use this fame? And maybe I can do this by making the world of passwords a little bit better. So that's what this talk is about. So let's start in here. Intel says their passwords must be at least 8 characters long, must contain A to Z, 0 to 9, and one of this special character sets in that set there, must not contain spaces, they're bad for some reason, must not begin with an exclamation or question mark, and must not contain your ID. First 3 characters cannot be the same. Sequence the first 3 characters cannot be your login ID. First 8 cannot be. Okay, fine. Let's go to Golden Rule Health. Must be at least 8 characters. Must include 1 number and a letter. No more than 2 consecutive characters may be the same, so Estonians, you're okay. Passwords must be changed every 180 days. May not be reused for a period of a year. That means they keep track of it. 3 invalid attempts will lock for 30 minutes. That's interesting. Wachovia Bank must be 7 to 20 characters. Contain at least 1 letter. Numbers are allowed but not required. User IDs cannot contain spaces. No spaces again. Can't be a social security number. Underscore is allowed but not required. Then so on. Looks like I have a repeat here. Dartmouth. 8 characters. Long numbers and upper and lower case. Anything longer than 8 will not work. There's no more than 4 characters in a sequence, must be at least 5 different characters. Cannot be a word found in a dictionary, including foreign languages. No Urdu, please. Cannot be a reversal, word found in plus a dictionary plus 1 character. Sort of a puzzle, and so on. Let's see. AT&T Uverse. Passwords are case sensitive. 6 to 24 characters long. Must be alphanumeric, at least 1 alphabetic and at least 1 numeric. Cannot match a member ID. Cannot have special characters except hyphen and or underscore are okay. Didn't say about spaces. Personal information's out. AT&T Global Network Services. By the way, none of this is AT&T secret stuff. I got this all by Googling the obvious stuff. Passwords can contain alpha or numeric, no special characters. Password must begin with an alphabetic character, minimum of 5, maximum of 8, 5 to 8, interesting. May not use it for 6 months, not case sensitive. And your password will expire every 60 days. Official airline group, OAG, the online airline stuff, at least 7 characters, not to exceed 50 characters. Well, they're safe there, aren't they? Case sensitive, include at least 1 letter, 1 numeric digit. May include punctuation characters, but not spaces or single or double apostrophes. Roman characters, please, none of this Unicode crap. Warcraft. You're getting the idea. Differ from the account name, 8 to 16 characters. Department of Homeland Security. No proper nouns, persons, pets, fictional character, any simple pattern, whatever that means. No word, noun, no year, string, past phrases, if used, should follow the same guidelines, not the same as the user ID. And the 8 to 15 characters, 1 special character, 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, no spaces. We don't want those. That key is much too fat to be used in a password. CalNet. Minimum length of 9 characters, maximum 255. Okay. They also They also, I'm going to type in a whole paragraph. It may include spaces. Spaces are okay, good. Characters from at least 3 of the following 4 upper or lowercase digit, non-numeric, some of those. Without regard, may not contain your first name, etc. Any change, the new one may not be the same as the current or previous one, so they're remembering all of them. Finally, United Airlines, case insensitive, 6 characters. Don't use United or password. That looks pretty easy. Where do these security policies come from? Well, there's actually a great paper by Florencio and Carmack Hurley, who has done a whole bunch of great stuff. Go read all his papers. They are relevant and wonderful. They found, this came out just at SOUPS this summer, they found that the strongest passwords were found at government sites, then .edu, because they're guarding our future, I guess, and then the .com sites. Turns out if you have customers who are selling advertising, or if there's a competitor out there people might switch to, your password rules tend to be pretty mild. Oh, and by the way, use a different password for each target system. Change your password frequently. Don't reuse passwords. Do not write down your passwords. Who is responsible for this Eye of Newt password fascism? Well, maybe I am a little bit. I mean, we didn't tell people to do this exactly, but what are these rules for? Because the users need to know this. If they don't understand why the rules are there, they're not going to follow them. A Marine guard knows why he's guarding the nuclear secrets. Grandma doesn't understand why spaces aren't allowed in her password. Actually, it's a word, isn't it? Why can't I just use something from the dictionary? So to give you the threat model that we've been worried about, I have a short excerpt from a 1950s security training film. And we shall just pop this in here.
Open sarsaparilla, open Saskatchewan, open septuagenarian, open saddle soap, open sesame.
Shouldn't we have music when we log in successfully? Dun, 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 dun. I think that'd be great. He's logged in. This is a dictionary attack. And if you oops, no, I did not want to do that. If you let Hassan guess long enough, he's going to get it right. I mean, that's the bottom line. You don't want to be in this game. We tried to make it harder to guess, and that's what all these rules are for, because computers, they're not necessarily good at guessing, but they can guess a lot if you let them. I don't know if we're up to 1 billion guesses a second. And Moore's law just makes it easier, and multiple cores is just perfect for password cracking. And if you limit the guesses, the game goes away. I have an ATM card in my wallet, and it is limited to 4 characters and has been since the early 1970s. And this is about real money. And the reason it works is because it eats your card after, 4 or 5 tries, or it disables the card or the account. But we play this game anyway. And we knew that people were lousy at picking passwords a long time ago. This was a fairly recent paper back in 1990. When Dan Klein pointed out that people are lousy at picking passwords. This was years after the Morris and Grant paper that talked about this. There have been at least 12 doublings since 1990 in CPU speed, and we're still doing this. These rules come from the deep past in computing and security, sort of like the deep magic in Hogwarts or something. This goes way back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, back when people would be typing stuff on terminals, teletypes, maybe deck writers, that sort of thing. Network eavesdropping was trivial, but otherwise, and the stakes were lower too. You didn't have a bank account that you could log into in the mid-'80s that I recall. Eventually, we got things you could dial into. There were institutionalized passwords on things like phone switches. So an entire region might have the same password on the switch because the technicians needed it. So what are the most current threats these days? They're not eavesdropping. Well, they are eavesdropping. They're not dictionary attacks. There's keystroke loggers. You don't want them installed on your machine. It's a feature you don't want. Phishing attacks where the user just says, here's my password, and password database compromise. None of those, when that happens, none of those are grandma's fault. Okay, that is a different reason. It doesn't need a strong password. I don't care how strong your password is. You're going to lose it if you've got someone's watching what you're typing. Users are not the enemy. Another fine paper from the past. Didn't know there's going to be so much academics in this, did you? Got references. But you can look them up if you want. These are good papers. Basically, it is simply poor engineering to expect people to pick passwords and remember passwords that computers can't guess if you give them a jillion tries. That's just the bottom line. It's poor engineering. It's not their fault. It's our fault. And some of you know who you are. So, of course, people violate the rules. They want to get the job done. The stringent rules increase the use of fallback, mother's maiden name. There's a fellow at our lab who has a Perl script. You write the name of the script and your name, and it has a 70% chance of printing out your mother's maiden name. It just goes to the web. It's a little Googling. It takes a few seconds. This is a stupid thing. You don't have a strong security system and a backup weak security system. That's not how you do security, because people will turn off the strong and use the weak. The rules don't make, and these rules don't make things more secure. They just make them a pain in the neck. So I want to start a new password rule that replaces all of them. And I'm going to give it to you in a moment and then talk about how we can implement it. I think you'll agree that life would be much better if you buy my argument that it's not any less safe, that this would be a great rule. It is the non-moronic password rule. I want you to pick something that a friend or colleague or family member can't guess in a few tries. And if they're watching you type, they can't tell what it is. Now that's pretty easy. You can explain that to grandma. I didn't say it can't be in the dictionary. Just if you're a cat person, don't have it be cat. That would be a moronic password. Dog might be better. Tiger is probably fine. Okay, they only have a few guesses. Now that is a password that grandma can understand. Oh, okay. She can understand it. It makes sense. Dictionary words are okay. Words in Urdu are fine. Spaces are fine if you want them. Exclamation points. You can decide it's all right. And they're probably easier to remember. You don't have to write them down. You could even use a different one for each site using your word and maybe the name of the site or something like that. That's okay. And a note, I've had some feedback from these talks that I'm being harsh on grandma. The lady I call grandma wrote disk controller code for the UNIVAC 3, cross-compiled in assembler from the UNIVAC 1. Okay? This is for large values of grandma, including us. Certainly, your employees are grandma. Your grandma sometimes. We are all grandma sometimes. We just want to get it done. Now, there are other solutions. And some of these come along the non-moronic one. One that just came out was, again, I misspelled Cormac. Popularity is everything. This was in HotSec just a few weeks ago. Their idea is make a list of all the passwords people pick, and you're not allowed to pick a password if it's popular. And she stood on the balcony, inexplicably mimicking his hiccuping while welcoming him home. Popular passwords picked. Anyway, I really got to fix his name. The idea here is you can't pick a password if, say, 100 other people have picked that password already. So you want a dictionary word? Fine. Pick it, it'll tell you if it's okay. This is their idea, and whether it's 100 depends on how many users you have. You've got to sort of raise the level of how many can have it. But it means if you're doing a dictionary attack, that only a few accounts are going to have the common words, the rest won't. Interesting idea. That was a summary I just gave. It does make making the passwords harder to choose. If your favorite username is Dragon Slayer and you want to go for a Gmail account right now, well, Dragon Slayer, I'm willing to go out on a limb and guess that it's already taken. So you may be Dragon Slayer 6478. You might have to play that same game with your password. Your password might be password 6SJ7GT. With this. Still, it does attack the problem. It's an interesting other approach and something to think about. It's also possible to keep this list of passwords, the password use, without recording the actual passwords. You can look at the paper. It's all done with Bloom filters. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. If you don't know what that is, it works out nicely. But the real summary solution is to limit the number of guesses and lock the account. And we'll get to locking the account in a moment. Non-moronic passwords, and make unlocked accounts less painful. Yeah, someone could keep bombing your account and locking it, and that can be a pain in the neck. So, less painful account locking. First of all, don't count duplicate attempts at password tries, because people have lousy keyboards, or they don't remember if they typed it quite right, or their spelling. So, if it says, what's your password? Frog. No, that's wrong. What's your password? Frog. No, that's wrong. Try it again. Frog. That's one attempt, okay?